thank you. There's not a lot I can add to the statistics of what was presented earlier, but I can tell you that as I go to the doors and talk to the next primary voters in my area of the state, which is West Central Ohio, there's a lot of frustration out there. A lot of frustration. I would caution the parties not to be feathering their nest by lengthening term limits, because I think the voters have just about had it with not getting anything done as they see it at the federal level or even at the state level. So I'd caution our politicians to not be feathering their nest as they would be in lengthening term limits at this time.
Thank you. Next, actually, before we hear from the representatives, I want to make a couple comments about that. Representatives Hood and Brinkman. I want to mention that I'm involved in a lot of these things, and it takes some bravery to stand up for what's right on issues like this, particularly when it necessarily means some kind of clash with members of your own party and even with your own leadership. And there's a certain amount of integrity that comes from a sitting incumbent legislator that is willing to put their interests of their constituents above their own personal career interests. And for that reason, when we look at someone like Representative Hood, Representative Brinkman, who have signed a written pledge committing themselves to supporting and defending the voter-approved 8-year term limits law here in Ohio, they deserve to be recognized. And U.S. Term Limits would like to present both of those gentlemen with our Defender of Term Limits Award that we give to legislators across the country that take this step. So if, let's see, Representative Hood, over here. Would you like to say something? Sure.
Well, thanks so much for this. Obviously, term limits is one of those vehicles that's in place that really helps. It helps to combat the corruption we have in the political process. When there is a corrupt system, the behind the scenes things that go on when legislation is decided, without term limits, you have people in positions for an awful long time, and the longer people are in those positions, the more they feel they can get away with not being in touch with the voters back home. And now I've seen that firsthand. It seems that the longer someone's in place, that can happen. There's one of the biggest reasons why we really need to have term limits, and there's a couple other reforms that would be very essential as well to combat that. And one is the campaign finance reform that was discussed earlier, where the party caucuses control all the money, and there's limits on the individual, but yet the party caucuses are totally unlimited. Well, that right there means you're not beholden to your legislators back home. You're beholden to the party leadership. The other thing is appointments, the appointment process, and when someone gets near the end of their term limits, they can maybe get a particular job somewhere, and then whether it be in the administration or somewhere else, and then someone can be appointed, and then you can have that go on a perpetual basis to where no one ever gets a chance to vote on a new legislator. They're only voting to accept or reject the legislator that was put there by people that do not live in their district. And if you want to go against that legislator that doesn't live in their district, you're going up against the caucus money machine. So it is with the three stools that we need in the table to stop the corruption would be term limits and remove the appointment process and reform the campaign finance law.
Thank you. As I mentioned, Representative Tom Brinkman was unable to attend, but Andrew is aide here. I'd like to present this first of all. 2 points. Representative Brinkman.
Yes. Some remarks here from the representative. I regret that I could not be in Columbus today as I attend to a personal commitment, but I'm nonetheless honored and humbled to receive the Defender of Term Limits Award for U.S. term limits. When the people of Ohio passed term limits by a landslide in 1992, we sent a message to the machine in Columbus that the era of professional politicians was over. In the years prior to that vote, citizen participation had grinded to a halt, and the longest tenured members of the legislature seemed to control every aspect of state government. With 8-year term limits in place, we have made remarkable progress. Term limits have enacted a pipeline carrying fresh faces, perspectives, and ideas directly from our citizens into the state capitol. In states without limits on tenure, new voices don't have the same opportunity to rise up and energize government because too often incumbents block their way. That's why it's important for us to keep Ohio's 8-year term limits in place. From the President of the United States all the way down to mayors and city council members, 8 years is the most common and time-honored term limit. It reflects the point at which Ohioans believe their leaders should step aside and give someone new a chance. My constituents always want to discuss term limits. The question is never how to weaken the ones we have here in Ohio. They're only interested in the way we can bring Ohio's term limits to Congress. Referring the anti-term limits amendment to the ballot might be popular among politicians in Columbus for obvious reasons, but that's not who any of us were elected to serve. We were sent here by the voters, and they say 8 is enough. That is why I will continue to do everything in my power to stop the attempt to lengthen term limits. Thank you again for your time.